No, trunk or treat is this week, and we do need some help. So if you want to help with that, please go to the ministry table, sign up. Tam has got a place for you there. Or if you want to donate some candy, just throw that in the blue bin. That'll be extremely helpful. Also, the other announcement we got going on is Workday is going to be Saturday. If you'd like to help clean up around the church, make this place look awesome, please sign up. If you have questions, ask Tom Minnick about those questions, okay? Also, I believe I had an announcement handed to me, I think, which was that the mission trip to Wilkinsburg has been rescheduled for Saturday, November the 9th. The sign-up sheet will be out next Sunday. Please see Mike or Karen for details. So the Wilkinsburg mission trip has been rescheduled for Saturday, November the 9th. All right. Well, what do you say we get this thing over with? Here we go. All right, we are ending our Philippians series today. It's, well, actually, I titled it The End, but it is the end of Philippians. And today, as I preach this last sermon to you, you might notice that, like, first off, there's this awesome little lectern I have this morning. If you want to know something about this lectern, the staff knows it sits in my office. This lectern for the past 10 years is where I've prepared sermons and youth group lessons from, so I thought, why not give it its due credit and put it on stage today? So this is where I've spent a couple hours at, figuring out how to lecture you people on things. Here we go. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for who you are. God, as we just come this time with the message, we ask that it be your words, not mine. We ask wisdom speak to the Spirit, and we just ask that we gather something from the pages that Paul is trying to tell the church in Philippi that would apply to us. Pray this all in your name. Amen. As I've told you with this series, Paul, when he wrote this letter, it wasn't to correct. It was to encourage the church in Philippi. And it's different from almost any other letter that Paul has written in the New Testament. Throughout this letter, we have several quotes that are coffee mug worthy or on your wall art worthy. You know, we talked about it. To live is Christ, to die is gain. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, which we're talking about today. So there's a lot of text in here that people know, but do they know what they actually mean? So today, as we end out the book of Philippians, we're going to start Philippians chapter 4. We're only going to be in Philippians today, and we're going to start with just verse 11. So Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I'm only going to talk about this verse by itself because that's a hard verse already. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned whatever situation I am to be content. Contentment. Is it hard to be content in life? Oh, okay. Let's try it again. I'm not asking rhetorical questions. Is it hard to be content in life? Yes. Absolutely. Man, last Sunday getting good responses. I like it. So when we talk about contentment, we all have that period of life where, like, I was definitely not content there. And there's one spot in life you should be, yes, I'm not content there. And that was when you weren't a believer. You should not be content with, not knowing who God is. And that discontentment should lead you down that path to finding God. But however, Paul's telling us here, not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. Well, that's hard. Because even though we might be Christians, there's hard times in life. There are things that happen in life where we're like, whoa, what's going on? Why is this happening? And I'm not content. Whether it's loss of a loved one. Maybe something happened and a relationship fizzled out. Whatever it may be. Maybe just some discord in family. And you're like, but I'm not content in this. So how in the world is Paul saying, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content? And as we look at the previous chapters of the letter to the church in Philippi, we notice he's saying this because he remembers at the end of the day, he has God. And that's where his contentment comes from. Because church, let's be honest. We need to learn to be content. We need to learn to be content. And that's a hard thing to do in this world today. I mean, let's be honest. You flip on CNN or you flip on Fox News, whichever your poison is, and that discontentment will come right away. I'm serious. I don't believe this last week. I looked at the news, and I will tell you right now, I went through all the stories between both Fox and CNN, and I found one good news story. And when I say good, I mean positive. And I only found one. And it was funny to me. Maybe you guys saw it on the news, maybe you didn't, I don't know. It was about a football coach at a high school in Oregon. A student had come with a loaded shotgun to school, and he was going to kill himself in front of his class. And the coach stopped him, disarmed him, and you just see the coach hugging him. And what was funny to me was that was an awesome story. And then I read it, and it was like, this happened 3 or 4 months ago. And I'm like, how in the world is this just now on the news? Because we don't like feel-good stories. We've learned to take our discontentment, and our whole world decides to be discontent. So we're going to share that. Let's be honest, church, we do the same thing with social media. You probably can jump on your news feed, and I promise you, if you don't know what your news feed is, learn it from somebody else. You could probably jump on and find more negative stories that people have posted or more negative comments than you can positive. I'm serious. Because that's just how we are. A lot of us, and we struggle with it. You might wake up one day and think, man, I have actually become pretty toxic. Because all I do is complain. All I do is look around and be like, why is this happening this way? We don't know how to have contentment. And what Paul is saying is, no matter the situation, I have found contentment. Verse 12 of chapter 4 says this: I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret, facing plenty and facing hunger, abundance and need. And what he's saying here, what you have to know about Paul going on right here, is he would have somebody like Lydia. Lydia was from the church of Philippi. Lydia was a very wealthy person. There's times that Paul is in her care and staying at her place, and like she's got servants and a lot of stuff. But what Paul's saying here is, I know how to have nothing, but I also know how to have a lot. But still, I have learned to face both situations because it's two-sided. Not only do we need to learn how to find contentment in not having much, which some of us have done, but we also need to find contentment when we do have a lot. And what I mean by that is it's not the most important thing to you. Because, let's be honest, money is not everything. Possession is not everything. And that's what Paul's saying. Even though I've had a moment in life where I've had this, it does not trump still what makes me content. Because, church, true contentment is not situational. True contentment is finding it in the Father. Let's move on to a verse that we all know. Philippians 4:13. It's a favorite. Here we go. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. I've put this verse by itself for one reason. You're looking at a pastor that absolutely hates it when somebody quotes this verse. It makes me cringe. It makes my soul pretty much vomit. It does. And here's why. Because no one, when they use this verse by itself, understands what it means. Because we read this, we're like, man, I can do everything through Christ. That's what it means. I'm Superman. That is not what this verse means at all. Because, church, if I've taught you one thing in the years of being here, it is this. Jesus might be king, but context is key. And so we need to know what context is. We just read how Paul talked about being brought low, having much, and still finding contentment. This verse applies to that. Imagine that. This verse applies to the two verses before it. I know it's a miraculous thing, but what it means is I can do all things through him who strengthens me because I know that my contentment is found in him. The reason I have contentment when I have a lot or when I have little is because of this. This doesn't mean I want to fly and thanks to Christ I can fly. That's not what this means. But we treat that verse that way. I love it when I do appreciate that athletes are really trying to find Bible verses, but this was the number one that came out, with that awesome on their upper cheekbone, Philippians 4:13. And you want to ask those people, hey, do you know what that verse means? Because it doesn't mean you can spear tackle the guy the best you can because Christ is with you. Just saying. What it means here is Paul saying, hey, here's how I found to be content with what I have in Jesus. Because he is there with me. If we move on in this text, Verses 14 to 23, it says this: "Yet it was kind of you to share my trouble. And you Philippians yourselves know that in the beginning of the gospel, when I left Macedonia, no church entered into partnership with me in giving and receiving except you only." Verse 16, "Even at Thessalonica, you sent me help for my needs once and again. Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that increases to your credit. I have received full payment and more. I am well supplied, having received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent, a fragrant offering, a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to God." Verse 19, "And my God will supply every need of yours, according to his riches in glory in Christ." Verse 20, "To our God and Father be glory forever and ever. Amen." And I'll get to the last couple verses in a second. So as we break this down, we have to understand something. We have to understand the centerpiece of the gospel. The centerpiece of the gospel is that God loved us. Therefore, he said, "I'm going to give you one last sacrifice to cover and atone all sins, and it's going to be my son. And I'm going to send him as the perfect, spotless lamb, and he will be slaughtered for you. Not because I have to, not because I necessarily want to, but because I love you." That is the centerpiece of the gospel. And that's what Paul's driving home here. As he's talking about, hey, no one else wanted to join me in this, but you guys did. You came alongside me early. You supported me. You sent me stuff. This is what you have done, so I can advance the gospel. You know the cool thing about the church of Philippi? Is because it was on a major trade route with Asia. I talked about this in week 1 of this series. Paul went to the church in Philippi, and he stayed in Philippi. Paul didn't just go traveling into Asia. He didn't do it. We have no record of that. But somehow we know that the gospel spread through Asia immaculately. And you can only draw this one conclusion from that. Paul taught people, and people got it, and they said, yep, we're going to do it. And that's what they did. So church, I ask you, do you get it? Do you want to share it? Do you want to tell someone about it? Because you have the hope that somebody needs to find contentment. We have a lot of broken people out in the world today. One of the quotes that I've said over my many years of being here is, you might be the only Jesus they ever see. Oh, it might only be you. There's a reason why Jesus gives us the Great Commission. There's a reason why Paul was sent out as a church planter and to go to all these places and to teach them and educate them. Because at the end of the day, nothing else matters but the preservation and the spreading of the gospel. Not possession, not need, not wealth, not relationships. Because at the centerpiece of the gospel, that God loves us, and that he wants to do something for us by sending his son, it's that profound love that binds us together as brothers and sisters. Because that's what we are. We're family. Oh, before the praise man gets excited, don't go anywhere. I know the sermon looks like it's wrapping up. It's not. So as I talk about this for a second, this profound love. I heard someone talking about FCC a couple weeks ago, and maybe it was last week. I don't even know when it was. Things are running together. And somebody said this statement to me. When I walk into First Christian Church, it feels like a family. I want you to know this. Nothing makes my ears happier than that. Nothing makes me feel more joy than when I hear someone say, you know what? When I walk into this church, I feel like people actually care. Now, granted, on the other side of that, we have, maybe somebody walks in and says, man, people hound me and try to hug me all the time. Yeah, I know, we're overly friendly. We try to beat on people with hugs. Stop it, all right? But no, that's what I love about this place. So as I sit here and I'm going to reminisce a little bit, I went through all of Paul's letters, and I've done it many times, and through all of Paul's letters, He recognizes people. And he says, hey, here's what this church is all about. So, as I was cleaning out my office, I thought it'd be appropriate if I could be like Paul for a minute. Years ago, Tammy said, hey, when I was doing youth ministry, she always told parents, Chase has favorites. And I always told her, you're a liar. But it's true, I've always had favorites. So, I can say that now. I'll get to a couple things in a minute, but I want to start with this. There's been several people in here that have been with me since the beginning of time in making this place awesome as it is today. So let me start off with this. I want to recognize two people, and these two individuals have served with me on a leadership team before. They have been there through thick and thin. These two individuals are people that I've even wanted to punch in the mouth. I'm serious. Almost said the word, let's go out in the parking lot, to these two individuals. But I love them dearly, and they've done a lot for this church. I would not be on the stage if it wasn't for these two individuals. So these two individuals, I'm leading some of my leadership resources because, not that they need them, but because I want to impart something on them. So Mr. Marker and Mr. Castilla, would you come down and get my stuff? So, and I mean it with love that I wanted to punch them both in the mouth. I just mean it with love. I don't mean that with anger, because I'll tell you right now, these two individuals have never said a bad word about me in their head. I know that for a fact. So, which one's which here? Ooh, Mike and Rick. There you go, sirs. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, love you too. Yeah. Oh, Rick, I know you love me, even though you won't say it. I get it. All right. He's not secure with his emotions, so we just know that mentally. So, all right. Woo. Next person. Hey, actually, you know what? I'm going to brag on myself a little bit. I like to do that a little bit sometimes. This person, when I first came here, they probably did not like me. And so this person has done a lot. They've come a long way. There's no one I've seen grow more. This person currently serves as an elder. And actually, if you'd asked him 10 years ago, he would probably say you're an idiot for even recognizing that or even saying that's where I'd become. But as Paul wrote out letters to people, one thing that was for sure. There was a guy by the name of Gaius in Acts that was willing to die for Paul. And I know this person I'm about to talk about would take a bullet for me because they pretty much almost have. And so I'm going to leave my Bible that has been with me on many youth conferences that I've preached the gospel with the kids for years. So Mr. John Schrock, where are you at, brother? Yeah. So I know you're just like Rick. Your emotions are going to stay inside, so we're just going to mentally talk about it. I'll leave that there for you. So, all right, I'm going to get my next point. We'll let the sermon go too long. Lunch is downstairs. All right. Yeah. You're welcome. All right. My section up top. What up? Former students of mine. You know what? I don't have enough crap to give all of you. So I thought, you know what? These two individuals, I'm going to give a gift to two of them together. These two individuals have been with me since the beginning. They were elementary schoolers when I got here. They stayed for the youth programming and really have done a lot in the youth department for the kids. So they also gave me a love of something that I absolutely never knew, and I hated it. These two individuals gave me a love of soccer. I came from the Midwest, and I'm like, what is this sport? No one plays this where I'm from. And sadly, I had student ministry that all they did was play this game called soccer, and I'm like, I guess I better learn. And then they came to me and said, hey, you should coach. So I'm going to give this gift. It's actually the first soccer ball that I bought with my own money, because that took a lot out of me to buy a soccer ball. So Hannah Snope and Noah Gerhard, you guys get to share this gift, and maybe in future you won't have to share it because you'll be together. I don't know. We'll just go with that. Hey, you guys, I'm not really throwing up to you. I don't want to break the glass. So who's coming down? Yeah, one of you. Yeah, Noah, be a gentleman. Yeah. All right. All right. Make sure you share time with that, Noah. You split it in half and half, okay? All right. All right. I have a couple more. Since the beginning, this person has seen me because this person has been on staff with me since the beginning of time. And actually, I tell you right now, she's been here since the beginning of time, all right? So, I have something I'm going to give to Cheryl because she has seen me hold every position in this church. She's seen me hold the intern. She's seen me as the interim senior pastor. She's seen me as youth pastor. So, giving you my nameplate. So come up and get it. And the reason I'm giving this to you, not because I'm declaring that you're a minister, but that I'm declaring that you can look on this and you have two options. You can look at it and say, man, those times were good. Or more likely, you can look at it and say, man, I'm glad we don't go back there. So, two options for you. All right. All right. All right. So, this person probably ran away out of the sanctuary when they saw I was doing this. But she better be here. Since day one of me being here, this person has been like the mom to me and taken care of me and like done a lot of things for me. The ministry here would not be as strong, especially the student and children's department, if it wasn't for her. Let's be honest, there's no better children's director outside of myself than Miss Tammy Schrock. And since I'm actually leaving Shay in charge, I got you this book. Since he's now captaining the ship, I got you this book called Life Preservers. You might need it, so come up and get this from me, all right? So I picked this out just for you. All right. I can't talk to you because I know you'll get emotional. We'll be up here all day, so you're good. All right. Lastly, this person hasn't been with me since the beginning, but until future time references, until God dictates whoever that next person that will fill my shoes will be, the guy that there is Shay. So, if you're one of my former students, you recognize this bag. This bag has been with me for every trip, everything I've ever done with you. Many of you have been baptized next to this bag, because it's what I've used and carried with me since the first time I went to creation. So Shay, and there's no better torch that I have to hand off than this. So come down and get it. Now, because I knew I'd get emotional for this one, there's something inside to break the tension. I also, because I know how much you love dinosaurs, inside I've left my copy of Jurassic World for you, okay? So there's that. So. All right, enough of that. I left the last point of the sermon open for this reason. Verse 21. Greet every saint in Jesus Christ. The brothers who are with me greet you. All the saints greet you, especially those of Caesar's household. The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with your spirit. Church, I leave you at this. The last point of the sermon today, and honestly, I have spent years preaching at you, preaching to you, preaching to myself. But if the one thing you did not get from me, and if you missed the point, it's not about me. It's about this right here. It's always what it's been about. All right? Anybody that takes this stage after me and before me, you know it's temporary. This is not. This is eternal. That is why the only point that I have left to give you is true contentment is found in the blood of Christ. If you don't have that, I implore you to have that and find it. Pray for it. And all of you are here. I love you. If you haven't read my news article, I have wrote to you, all of you. And as the praise band struggles to get up here, I say this. Number one, I thank you for the opportunity. I do. Not many places would have wanted this 28-year-old guy taking lead pastor. Probably some of you didn't want it, and that's okay too. Secondly, been here since I was 20 years old, spent my entire 20s here. Met the love of my life here. Married here. Those were happy times. I said it was depressing. Those were happy times, sorry. So, number one, thank you. Number two, it's been an honor. Most of you, I'll see you again. If not, I'll see you in heaven. Lastly, may God bless you. May God keep you. And may His face shine upon you.